I look forward, I'll first answer your first question, then I'll go to your second. I look forward to meeting with Jamie Dimon and meeting with anyone who is concerned about the future of our city and is invested in the vitality of that same city. And these are not very different from the conversations I had over the course of this campaign with many business leaders who, while we may have disagreements on fiscal policy, we also found many areas of agreement as to what the city actually needed. And I think it is critically important that we start to embody a style of leadership that does not demand agreement across every single issue in order to even have a conversation. We need to be able to deliver for New Yorkers, and that means to meet New Yorkers, even those with whom we have any disagreements. So I look forward to having those kinds of meetings, be it with Jamie Dimon or be it with other business leaders, and continuing to show that our affordability agenda is an agenda that would also benefit businesses across the city. Because what I've heard from many of those same business leaders is that the inability for city government and state government to provide universal child care has led to businesses sometimes having to provide stipends to their own employees given the expense of that child care. Makes sense because child care in this city costs an average of $22,500 a year, which is a burden that many families cannot bear. And I also look forward to streamlining the regulations within city government. I'm someone who believes deeply in the public sector, believes deeply in public regulation, and I also believe if I cannot give you an answer as to why a regulation exists, then it likely doesn't have a good reason to exist any longer. And that extends to when a restaurant owner told me of the $25 a year he has to pay the city for the right to sell a frozen dessert, and it also extends to the way in which we fine and fee small businesses across the city, which is why we've committed to cutting that in half. And I have not spoken to Jonathan Greenblatt. I take the issue of anti-Semitism incredibly seriously. And last night in my speech, I spoke about how my city hall will stand steadfast with Jewish New Yorkers in fighting the scourge of anti-Semitism across the city and making that clear in the actions that we deliver on from January 1st. And I look forward to working with Jewish leaders across this city, whether they be elected officials, whether they be rabbis, whether they be community leaders, to deliver on the promise of not just protecting Jewish New Yorkers, but celebrating and cherishing them in this same city. I think that anyone is free to catalog the actions of our administration. I have some doubts in Jonathan's ability to do so honestly, given that he previously said I had not visited any synagogues, only to have to correct himself.
Hi, Mayor-elect. Obviously, I have two questions as well.
Yes, yes. Yes. It's a 2-for-1 day.
Oh, yeah, a little more interesting. So, on President Trump and on delivering real, tangible results, as you alluded to last night with your new era, as Maria Torres-Springer just said, how do you balance, or have you given thought to balancing combating President Trump and not getting lost in that fight to where you are not delivering the campaign promises? And second, I'm just curious, kind of in the quiet hours of last night, you got off stage, you went home, maybe you were sitting by yourself, maybe it was just you and your wife. I'm wondering what those sort of thoughts in your head were in those quiet moments after this sort of enormous accomplishment and the weight of what's about to come your way.
It's very funny. Everyone is asking two very different questions. Not trying to strike the right tone between all of them. New Yorkers are facing twin crises in this moment: an authoritarian administration and an affordability crisis. And it'll be my job to deliver on both. It'll be my job to stand up for the city and also to ensure that we do not look at Washington, D.C. as if it is the reason for all of the problems right here in New York City. Many of the issues we are speaking about, they predate President Trump. They are issues that for too long we have turned a blind eye to, or we have sought to rationalize or normalize. And what I'm so excited by in looking at these incredible women who will be leading our transition is a track record of being able to handle multiple crises at the same time. Crises which so often for others might be the only focus. For so many of the people on this stage, they were one of many. And these are the crises of cost, these are the crises of conviction, these are the crises that have come to describe much of our politics. And I find immense confidence in the fact that we are already building a team that has shown its ability to deliver and that will continue to show that over the next 57 days and beyond. I cannot tell you that I had many quiet moments between last night and this morning, but some things that I have been left with, whether it was in sitting with my wife or with close members of my team without whom none of this would have been possible, is the sense of hope that New Yorkers have. When I left the venue yesterday evening, there were hundreds of New Yorkers waiting outside. And so many of them were young New Yorkers. So many of them, it may have been their first vote they were ever eligible to cast. And in their eyes and in their shouts and in their screams, I heard the potential for what our politics could be. And it's a potential for New Yorkers to not only be able to see themselves in those that lead them, but more importantly, to see their struggles. And just before this, I heard from an immigrant rights advocate who said that the moment that made her whole in the speech that I shared was when I spoke about this city as being one that was built by immigrants, that was powered by immigrants, and now that will be led by an immigrant. I think for too long, many New Yorkers have been told that their only place is in the shadows. And it is incredibly exciting to stand here alongside these leaders to embrace the light that the future will hold for all of us in this city. Yes. Thank you very much. Gracias. The White House hasn't reached out to congratulate me. I continue to be interested in having a conversation with President Trump on the ways in which we could work together to serve New Yorkers, whether that be delivering on his campaign promises around cost of living or the many issues that New Yorkers have been sharing with me about the drastic impacts that the legislation that President Trump has ushered through Washington will mean for them and their lives. And too often we understand these impacts solely at an individual level. But if we just speak a little bit more about SNAP benefits, these are not just affecting the close to 2 million New Yorkers who are on SNAP, these also affect the grocery stores across our city. There were a number of mom and pop owned grocery stores that spoke to me about the fact that in the Bronx, SNAP revenues make up more than a quarter of all of their revenue. And this has the impact of decimating their ability to keep their doors open. And so I look forward to having those conversations and to making clear that if there is ever anything to be spoken about that could benefit the people of the city, I am ready and willing to speak to anyone about it. But if it is a conversation to come at the expense of those people, then I will fight that idea tooth and nail, because my job is to serve this city. When I speak about Trump-proofing this city, I speak about protecting those with the least from the consequences of a man with the most power in this country. It is in part a reference to the need to ensure that any fight for additional revenue is one that also looks to try and protect those same New Yorkers from these kinds of cuts to the greatest extent that we can. And it's also a commitment to ensure that so many of the storied parts of city government return back to the moments where they were on the front lines of fighting for dignity and civil rights, and I think specifically of our city's law department. This is a law department that, when you think of the seminal civil rights cases of this country, they were there. And yet today it has 200 fewer lawyers than it did before COVID. This is an example of a lack of interest from an administration in ensuring that we are investing in the tools that have been proven to protect those same New Yorkers. And I will not mince my words when it comes to President Trump. I will continue to describe his actions as they are, and I will also always do so while leaving a door open to have that conversation, because it cannot be understood as if it is an argument between two individuals. I am looking to lead this entire city, and everything that I do must be to the benefit of this city, and I look forward to delivering for that same city.
Yeah,
Yeah, hi.
Hey, how's it going, Aki?
So after your win last night, a lot of critics went to our comment section in the social media newsroom we run, saying, talk to the Mamdani supporters in 6 months, see how they feel. Talk to them in a year, see how bad it's going to get. Do you have any comments on
first I'd say we've come a long way since that conversation in Astoria Park, and it's lovely to see you here. You know, I think there were many who said similar things when we launched our campaign on October 23rd. Talk to the campaign in 6 months, talk to the campaign in a year, see where they are. And what we've shown is that the hunger, the dedication, the commitment to excellence and delivering in the ways in which we have been told are impossible, this is what will typify our efforts. It has thus far. This is what will describe them moving forward. And the passion, as Maria had said, of an undimmed potential for government to meet the needs of working people across this city, that is something that we fully intend to deliver on. These were not words that were shared as a means by which to inspire people for the purpose of an election. These were commitments that were made that we intend to deliver on to ensure that New Yorkers can live in the city they call home. I'm sorry, could you come a little closer or speak a little louder? I think the first thing I did was drink some water, and it took a moment for it to settle in. And when it did, oftentimes this job is described with the language of burden, responsibility, pressure. And those things are true. But what is lost is opportunity. And that is really what I felt in that moment when this race was called, the opportunity we have to deliver for people who have come to expect so little from the politics of their city. And that is an opportunity that is at the heart of what motivates me each and every day. And I look forward to fulfilling the trust that was put in me by the more than 1 million New Yorkers who voted for our campaign, and also by New Yorkers who've had concerns or skepticism. I don't begrudge them, because they were subject to tens of millions of dollars in attack ads that told them the thing that should keep them up at night was me, when in fact what I've heard from New Yorkers that the thing that keeps them up at night is the cost of rent, of groceries, of childcare. And so I look forward to earning their trust as well, because my vision of success is not that those who are skeptical leave this city, it's that those who are skeptical stay here in this city, and that we build a city that has room for even more to join us. Because this is a city that has to grow, this is a city that has to thrive, and the way that we will